Oh my, you're at the verge of losing, and you pretty much have worthless teammates. Time to do some manhandling, and time to face my big giant dragon dick, or basically sword. That'll work. In this McCree, you pain in the ass. As you can see, I'm not really good at Genji, but hey, it's better that than nothing. Let's review Genji, shall we? So, this is Genji. Genji has 200 health, much like all the other offensive heroes that you get. And yeah, he's pretty much the most difficult of the bunch to use. Let's talk about his main weapon in ult fire, which is the shuriken. The shuriken fires around 3 shurikens at one time, and they're at a snail's pace, and they fire about 1 round a second. But the best part about these, they have no damage drop off, so you will be killing people with 24 damage each within each shuriken. And the ammo is pretty healthy too, at about 24 rounds. Very useful if you're at a middle range, but these can easily be avoided. But if there's turrets around, this can definitely be a really good trait. And his ult fire, called Fan of Blades, you pretty much fire the shurikens at a wide horizontal range, and your rate of fire is a little bit increased, at 1.33 rounds per second. Very useful against tank heroes, and anyone else that are just in close range that you can just simply finish them off. Now what about his abilities? What do they do? His passive ability is pretty useful, especially if you know your boundaries around the map, as this is called Cyber Agility. Cyber Agility gives you 2 perks for 1. For starters, you can double jump, which means if you jump up in the air once, you can jump again. And, like Hanzo, you can climb through walls, or actually climb up through straight walls and that. Very useful if you're in a high-paced danger, or if you're in a nice traffic cone of areas. And with the double jump too, you can easily just avoid some of the projectiles that your enemies are using, or just be in a nice little specific area that demands a little bit more height. But yeah, it's very useful. So it pretty much counters between Tracer's blink ability, but it's less useful for getting out of situations though. So his second ability, besides his passive ability, is, well, if you think about Star Fox with Deflector, this is pretty much it. This one is called Deflect. And Deflect, it's a little hard to demonstrate with this, but with Deflect, you'll be able to deflect bullets, grenades, projectiles, and instead of you taking the damage, they'll take the damage instead. And this can definitely work against ultimates as well. But it does have a somewhat mild cooldown at around 8 seconds. Very useful if you're in a tricky pace, or if a Bastion is trying to at least spray you down. But that'll definitely kill him or do a whole bunch of damage in return. And his last ability is pretty much a lightning strike move, instead of just being like a regular ability. This one is called Swift Strike, as its name predicted. So what Swift Strike does, well, it pretty much, you do 50 damage per target, and you can go through many of them as possible within a 14-meter range. And much like the Deflect ability, it has an 8-second cooldown. However, if you kill someone with Swift Strike, it instantly recharges, so you can use them against multiple opponents. And it's very easy to use. You could either use the Fan of Blades, do a melee, and then just swiftly hit them with a nice Swift Strike. And that can easily do like a whole bunch of damage, or can easily kill them in return, as you can see here. So, what about his ultimate? His ultimate, like Hanzo, is pretty much a namesake thing. And this ultimate is basically called Dragon Blade. Dragon Blade, what it does, you unleash his powerful sword and do about 120 damage per swing. Best thing is you're able to use all of your passive abilities and your abilities, and it has a 5-meter range on each swing. The only thing is, it only lasts for a good old 6 seconds. Useful for finishing a whole bunch of weakened enemies off, or useful against an offensive enemy attack. But I wouldn't suggest using it against a whole bunch of people without their help. So, without further ado, let's see how we can play as Genji. Not only is Genji one of the hardest characters to kill within the entire game, he's also the most difficult to play in the entire game. Compare that to Zenya in that they're a little bitch compared to Genji. But with Genji, always try flanking your enemies, not going into one-on-one encounters, and be with your friendlies at all times because he has less abilities that would make him escape encounters. Compare that to Tracer at least. He's best deployed when it comes to mid-range due to his shurikens, which have no damage drop-up. Even though they're slow, an unaware opponent can easily stumble into your line of fire. And use your Dragon Blade when it comes only to close range, and I would highly suggest doing that too, until you get used to him. Use Swift Strike and the Fan of Blades to do a little combo of sorts. Either use that or melee and then just swiftly finish them off with a Swift Strike and you can easily recharge that ability. And don't use your Deflect ability early as it can get you killed. Wait for a little bit and see that the enemy is going to be cocky enough to take you on. They might assume that your ability is on cooldown and try to finish you off from there. It is there when you should strike and basically give them a whole bunch of damage, a nice little fan of blades, and then just simply finish them off with a swift strike. So without further ado, let's do some gameplay on Genji.
Upside down, faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly, cold lost beneath the ground. All done by my own hand, I allow my feelings to become sin. If you're gonna cut me down, better do it quickly now. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. This is not forever. Folks changing like the weather. Cold wind and all around. Toxic people being severed, like leaves falling in September. Cold wind and on the ground. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again. Oh yeah, my roots are strong. black hole, cold, lost and upside down. Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly. Cold, lost beneath the ground. All done by my own hand, I allow my feelings to become sad. If you're gonna cut me down, better do it quickly now. Now you can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again. Oh yeah, my roots are strong.
Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and be sure to look at my Facebook page down below. Until then, GalacticStorm saying, I'll see you guys later.